Hello, my name is Lisa Sims, and today I want to talk to you on the topic of start the way you want to finish. And my agenda today is very simple. I'm going to give you some background information about myself. We're going to talk about goal concepts. We're also going to talk about some goal accomplishment strategies. I'm going to provide some resources, and I'm going to leave you with some closing thoughts. Well, first of all, you're probably saying, who is Lisa Sims? Well, I'm the lead faculty for the University of Arizona Global Campus Forbes School of Business and Technology, Web and Mobile App Technology emphasis. I'm the lead faculty advisor for the University of Arizona Global Campus Women in STEM Club. I'm also the author of 8 books. 6 have been self-published and 2 published with A-Press Media. The latest one was published in March of this year. I'm also the creator of the Stretching a Dollar for Entrepreneurs Show podcast, and I'm also an entrepreneur, and I also have 2 boys, ages 8 and 4, and I'm also married. So as you can see, I have a lot going on. So goals not written down are just wishes. And this author is unknown, but very wise. And we always hear that it's important that we must write down our goals. Number one, we got to keep track of these goals. And they also help us to stay focused on them, because we don't write them down, then we will tend to forget them. And just like every start of a new year, we always start our goals, and most people put at the top of their list, I want to lose weight, I want to save more money, I want to take better care of myself, I want to spend more time with my family. Other people say they want to look for a new job, whatever. They put it on their list. So we write these goals on our list at the beginning of January. And by the time March hits, some of us don't look at these goals again. Or if we look at them, we look at them and we say, oh man, I didn't do anything so far that I have put on my list. And before you know it, January goes by, February goes by, March goes by, April, May, and on and on and on. And so by the time you get to the end of the year, you're like, oh man, I feel like I didn't get anything accomplished. But you did write it down, but we didn't accomplish some of those things. And some people do, but this is just an example of how we all start off with writing down our goals at the beginning of the year. And so here's a quote that I found very interesting by Stephen Kellogg. And it says, the moment you put a deadline on your dream, it becomes a goal. And that's true, because the clock starts ticking and you say to yourself, okay, I put this down and I put this deadline on it. So now I've really got to put the pedal to the metal and I got to get going. And it's just like with getting a degree. Once you enrolled, you said, hey, okay, it's real now. I've got to put the pedal to the metal and I've got to do whatever I've got to do to get to the finish line. And you budget and you say, hey, I only got 4 years and that's what I'm going to do for this. Or if it's a master, you've got 2 years, or if it's your PhD, how many every years it takes, you put that deadline on it because you want to accomplish it. And then it becomes real to you. It's real when you write it down, but when you put a deadline on it, oh, it becomes very, very real to you. And so here's an example of just a time measurement tool, the old sand timer. And we all know that, hey, in a given day, we only have 24 hours in a day. And so it seems like some people have more time than we do because they get more accomplished. But that's not necessarily true. Some people just organize their day better, or they actually write things, their to-do list down for the day, and they are able to go on and check those things off. But this just goes to show us that no matter how you track your time, whether you use a sand timer or you use a Fitbit or you use your iPhone or your Apple Watch, we all have the same amount of time in a given day, And it's what we do with that time to reach our goals that is important and that will help us to reach our goals. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you my interpretation of what the letters in goals actually mean. And so, hopefully, by me telling you what I think the letters in the word goals means, it will inspire you and encourage you to go after your goals. So, let's go ahead and talk about the G. What do you think the G stands for? Well, for me, I say grit. Grit is one of those things that you've seen some people, it seems like either you're born with it or you're not. They have that perseverance and that passion, and they just get up in the morning and they're just go getters. And no matter what obstacle comes in their way, they just jump over it, they go through it, they don't let it move that, they don't let them stop them, they move it out of the way. And that's grit, and that's what you have to have. And you obviously have grit because you're in school. You decided, hey, I want to make a better life for myself and my family. I want to do something. I want to get a degree. So you got grit, you've got passion and perseverance, and you're sticking it out. It may not have been easy. I'm sure it wasn't, because as I look back on my undergraduate years, it surely was not easy. I was a working student for all 4 years of undergrad. So I understand, I had to have the passion and the perseverance to keep going, and obstacles came and I had to just go through those and not let those stop me. And I know you did too. But grit is the foundation upon which goals are built. And so let's move on to the O in goals. That's optimism. And you really have to be an optimistic person, because there's so much negativity in the world. If you turn on the TV or you even look at your news on Facebook Live or Instagram or whatnot, there's so much negativity in the world. So you cannot let that stop you. You have to be an optimistic person. When you set your goals, you have to be optimistic and say, no matter what comes my way, I am going to meet this goal. And sometimes you may have found yourself in a situation where you tell somebody the goals that you have, and they look at you and they're like, I don't know about that. You sure you want to do that? Do you have enough money to do that? Do you have the time to do that? And see, those are those little small seeds of doubt that are starting to be planted. And then they get in your mind and you're like, well, do I have enough money to finish this degree? Do I have enough time to do it? Am I able to do it? No, you have to be optimistic, and you have to realize that you've got what it takes. If you didn't, you wouldn't have made it this far. You have what it takes. And don't let anybody discourage you to tell you that you don't have what it takes. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, and you have to stay optimistic when it's not even feasible to be optimistic. There were times in my undergrad where I encountered some issues, and I mean, they were bad. I mean, but I still had to be optimistic and say, hey, you got this, you can do this. Don't let this stop you. Don't let it stop you. It's just a stumbling block that you're gonna get over. And the same thing, you have to see the glass as half full instead of half empty, because we live in a society where a lot of people see the glass as half empty, and they want you to see it as half empty, but you've got to see it as half full, and just stay there until you actually reach what you are trying to accomplish. So let's move on. You got to have the A in goals, which is action. You got to do something. It's just like setting your goals at the beginning of the year. We can write all these things down on paper, but if we don't move on them, what do? We just did an exercise in, okay, I know how to write things down on a list. You got to put some action in it. You've got to say, okay, I wrote these down. Now, how am I going to achieve these? It's like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat it one bite at a time. And that's how you do this. You're going to have to do it one bite at a time. And you break whatever your goals are into small actionable items, and then you move on it. I've never seen anybody accomplish anything by just sitting there. And the same goes for example at the beginning of the year. If we said, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, if we just sit there and we don't do anything, we don't change our diet, we don't get active, we're not going to lose 10 pounds. We're going to still, if anything, we might put on some pounds, but we're not going to lose those 10 that we said we were going to lose. We've got to do something. If we don't exercise and get moving, those 10 pounds plus some more are going to still be there. So we got to do something. So action is essential. And so don't let anybody tell you that action is not required. And it takes a lot of action on your part to do it as well, particularly for school. Hey, it took action. You had to enroll, and now you're in school. And so it takes action to get to that finish line. You've got to complete your courses. You got to be able to turn in your assignments on time. And so those are all actions. You got to have good time management. Those are actions. So you've got to do something. And then if there's something that you can't figure out, you got to be able to ask for help. And that's the important part of this as well. So the L in goals, longevity. Most goals that we set for ourselves are not going to be accomplished overnight. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that is the case. And it's just not going to happen. So we have to be in it for the long haul. And that long haul, we don't know how long it's going to take depending upon the goal. For example, hey, you're in undergrad 4 years. It may take a little longer, but you have to be in it for the long haul. And there's going to be some things that come up along the way. For example, hey, you may lose your job. You might encounter some financial difficulty. You may have some sickness yourself, or someone in your family may end up sick and you've got to kind of take a break to see about them. I mean, hey, the pandemic happened. Nobody saw that coming. So, I mean, all these things happen, but we still have to stay focused on our goal and say, hey, they happen, but I'm still going to stick in here. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to continue on my path to reaching my goal. And, nothing happens overnight. I know we live in a social media world where it seems like, hey, 1 minute somebody has one follower, the next minute they have over 1 million. It just doesn't happen like that. I'm sorry. So you got to realize that we're in it for the long haul and just brace yourself, but it will happen. You still have to have the grit, the optimism, the action, and the longevity in order to make your goals come true. And then the S in goals, stick to itiveness. You got to stick with it. Even if it seems like it's not working, you still got to stick with it. And a lot of times we quit before time. We can't just throw up our hands and say, oh, well, I tried. No, we got to stick with it and make some tweaks along the way. But we've got to have that stick to itiveness. Whatever goals you set, you got to stick with them. For example, when I decided, hey, I want to write a book, I had never written a book in my life, but I'm an avid reader. So I knew what the format of a book looked like, but I had never written one. But I didn't let that stop me. I was like, well, if everybody else can write a book, I'm going to write a book too. And so during that process, oh my goodness, I mean, if you name it, it happened. I mean, my father ended up being diagnosed with kidney cancer, and he passed away. I was pregnant at the time, and my unborn daughter, she passed away. So I had to bury my father and my unborn daughter in the same month, and that's like the month of April. And so, that was devastating. And I'm not going to say it didn't slow me down. It did, but I kept going because I knew the goal that I had set for myself. And so I had to pick myself up by the bootstraps, and I couldn't just wallow in the depression. I just had to pick myself up and I had to keep moving. And that's what we have to do, that stick to itiveness. And things are going to happen beyond our control. We can't control everything that happens in our lives. There's going to be some things we can, and then there's going to be some things that we cannot. And so we just have to roll with those and still stick with our goals. And so start the way you want to finish. This is my second book that I wrote, that I wanted to write because I felt like there were a lot of people that started things but then stopped. So I wanted to kind of share some of my tips of what I do to start the way I want to finish on any particular project. And so one of the things that struck me too is that, we all make excuses. I make excuses. But then at the end of the day, we have to hold ourselves accountable for those excuses and say, well, hey, I thought you were going to work out for an hour today. Why didn't you do it? Or I thought you said you were going to eat healthy. You were going to eat at least 2 healthy meals today. What happened with that? So you have to, if you can't hold yourself accountable, then find your accountability partner, someone that will help you to be accountable for the things that you say you're going to do. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just helping you to be able to meet your goal, because without it, sometimes, you'll just keep going down the path. But we want you to go down the path of starting the way you want to finish. Now, I like podcasts. I love me some podcasts because they're portable. I can listen to them in the car. I can listen to them when I'm on the treadmill. I can listen to them when I'm out in my backyard with my boys. And so they're just good tools that you can use to help you to learn from others and learn how others were able to overcome those challenges that they had. And in everything that I listen to, there's some wisdom or knowledge nugget that I get out of it that can help me just go a little bit further than I was before. And so here's some of my favorite podcasts that I like. There's the Tim Ferriss Show. And if you haven't read the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, I highly encourage you to do that. That is a awesome book as well. The Zig Ziglar Show. Everybody's familiar with Zig Ziglar. And he has that optimism and motivation to get us going to do those things that we want to do. And then there's the John Maxwell Leadership Podcast. We're all leaders in our own right. And so that will give us some fuel to go ahead and accomplish those goals. And then this one, I like this one. I like the name because it's very, I like to play on words with this one, the Gold Digger Show. So if you're serious about accomplishing your goals, I would highly encourage you to check out the Gold Digger Show. And then there's the Gold Standard, the Goals Coach Daily Show. Now, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale is really not a podcast, but it's really I guess you can call it a podcast, but it's by Earl Nightingale, and he provides some awesome tips on how you can go about being successful and reaching your goals. So it's about an hour. So it's kind of broken into 2 parts, but it's very interesting and it's very good. And the School of Greatness is also another awesome podcast that you can listen to help you to reach your goals. As I said, I like podcasts. Podcasts, you get to hear from industry experts that most of us might not get a chance to be in the same room with them, but hey, at least with these podcasts, they're sharing their knowledge with us. So it's like we're sitting beside them having a conversation about goals and motivation and success principles. So these are some awesome podcasts, and there's many others that are out there, but these are just some of the ones that I listen to, and I wanted to share these with you as well. So I would love to connect with you. I can be your accountability partner if you need one. Here's my LinkedIn information, or if you just need somebody to bounce ideas off of, hey, I'm game for that too. And also, if you would like to join the University of Arizona Global Campus Women in STEM Club, we would love to have you as well. There's our LinkedIn group, and we're also on UAGC Connect, and also my email address. So if you just want to send me an email, you can do that too. However you would like to connect, I am game for it, because we don't live in this world by ourselves. And so we need to form those connections and network with people who can help us to accomplish our goals and help us move forward. And so it's not always about what you know, but who you know. And so I always like to increase my network however I can. And I encourage you to do the same thing, because that can help you to reach your goal. So we've reached the end of my presentation, and I just want to leave you with this story that will encourage you to start the way you want to finish. Many years ago, I've been married for 19 years, and my husband and I, around say year 10, we were busy in our careers. We decided, hey, we wanted to start a family, and we thought it'd be simple to start a family. Well, we didn't count on 5 years of infertility. So, we struggled to have children. I could get pregnant, but couldn't stay pregnant. And so I went to a host of doctors, and I went to a infertility specialist, and did that for about a year. And so that didn't work. I didn't even get pregnant at that point. And so I'll back up a little bit. I had after my second miscarriage, the doctors told me never to try to have children again. It just wasn't in the cards for me. So, I didn't believe them. So, next time we tried, I ended up having a miscarriage. We went to the infertility clinic. And so they tried and they couldn't. And so, but the good thing about it is I did get diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and a undiagnosed thyroid condition. So I was excited about that. So we found out, but still couldn't get pregnant. So long story short, they recommended that we do IVF. Well, IVF is expensive. So one cycle is between 13,000 and 10,000 to 15,000, but you got to do 2 cycles. And so at that time, I was like, well, what's the return on investment? And the infertility doctor said, well, it's only about 15 to 30%. So I looked at it, I was like, well, 15 to 30% chance of success and $30,000 I gotta pay. So I was like, well, I don't really like those odds. So my husband and I, we just decided, okay, well, hey, we tried, we'll just continue to be mentors to the children at our church. And so we went on with life. We said, when you give it your best, and we gave it our best, and our best just didn't seem like it was good enough. So, we said, okay, we'll just stop and just be mentors and role models at our church. Well, our plans were not God's plans. So maybe 3 or 4 months after my last visit there, I ended up pregnant. And so we ended up, it was a very hard process. It really was. I had to inject myself with blood thinners, with needles from 8 weeks all the way up until 36 weeks. But we did have a baby boy. And so 4 years after he was born, we had another son. And so here are my examples of don't ever give up on your dreams. They might not come when you want them to, but eventually they'll come. So you got to have grit. You got to continue to have that optimism. You got to continue to take action. And you got to have that longevity. Hey, 5 years is a long time to try to have kids. And then you gotta have that stick-to-itiveness. And believe you me, it was hard to have the longevity and the stick-to-itiveness, but we did. And so we've got these two little amazing little human beings that we love and cherish so much, and they keep us on the go all the time. So just remember, even if it doesn't happen on by the date that you set, it will happen. We don't know what God has in our plans. I didn't know. Hey, I thought that my oldest, the one that's laying down here, I thought he was just going to be the one that we had, and that was it. And then here comes William, and so we've got two beautiful little boys, and that keep us on our toes. Hey, I didn't plan on being a mom. I didn't plan on having a baby at 42, but it didn't happen that way. But never give up on your dreams. And so I just want to leave you with that. Whatever goal you set for yourself, you will accomplish it. And when you want to quit, think about me and say, if she didn't quit, I'm not going to quit either. And I thank you for listening to me talk about start the way you want to finish. And I'm here if you need me. And anytime you feel like you want to quit, I want you to look at this video and just remember that Lisa said, no, I need to start the way I want to finish. Thank you.